Hi viewers, we will see chapter 4 changes in this video. Chapter 4 is endocrine, nutritional and metabolic diseases. Code category is E002. Coming to the changes. For long-term use of injectable non-insulin antibiotic drugs, there is no specific code. This year, new code was created. Short stature, many codes are created, and in acidosis, for the metabolic acidosis, more specific codes are created. Next, we will see changes in detail. Coming to the long-term uses of the drugs. Whenever the patient has type 2 diabetes and the patient has been treated with drugs, we have for long term, we will report them with additional G codes. For long term uses of insulin, the code is G79.4. Long term uses of oral hypoglycemic drugs, G79.84. For long term usage of injectable non-insulin antibiotic drug, there is no specific codes, hence till now, we have reported with G79.899 other long-term drug therapy. This year, for this long-term use of injectable non-insulin antibiotic drugs, new code G79.85 has been created. So, from October 1st onwards, we have to report the long-term use of injectable non-insulin antibiotic drugs with G79.85. Let us see conventions. If the patient is treated with both oral hypoglycemic drugs and insulin, assign both G79.4 long-term use of insulin and G79.84 long-term use of hypoglycemic drugs, oral hypoglycemic drugs. Next convention is if the patient is treated with both insulin and an injectable non-insulin antibiotic drug, assign codes G79.4 for long-term use of insulin, G79.85 long-term use of injectable non-insulin antibiotic drugs. This is the new code. If the patient is treated with both oral hypoglycemic drugs and injectable non-insulin antibiotic drugs, assign G79.84. Long-term use of oral hypoglycemic drugs and G79.85. Long-term use of injectable non-insulin drugs. If insulin is given temporarily during that encounter to bring back blood sugar level under control, do not assign G79.4. That means for the temporary usage, we should not report the long-term use drugs. Whenever the patient has been using these drugs for 6 months or more, then only we have to report the long-term used drugs. Coming to the short stature. Short stature is a general term for the people whose weight is considerably below average compared to their peers. Three major causes of short stature are constitutional growth delay, genetical conditions and disease. Short stature, if we go by alphabetic index, the short stature by itself is leading to R62.52. The non-essential modifiers are child, hereditary, idiopathic. For NEC also R62.52. For constitutional short stature E34.3, due to endocrine disorder E34.3, Laron type E34.3. So, if the patient has short stature due to endocrine disorder, we will report with E34.3. For short stature NOS or child or lack of growth or physical retardation should be reported with R62.52. This year, 7 new codes are created for short stature. They are short stature due to endocrine disorder unspecified. So type of the endocrine disorder is not specified, then report with E34.30. For constitutional short stature, the ICD is E34.31. Constitutional short stature means the patient has short stature, but there is no specific endocrine alterations or specific genetic causes or skeletal dysmorphisms or secondary specific organ pathology or chronic diseases. That is E34.31. Next one is E34.321. Primary insulin-like growth factor 1, that is IGF-1 deficiency. If the patient has IGF-1 deficiency, it leads to low bone density and reduced muscle mass. E34.322. Insulin-like growth factor 1 resistance. Growth factor insensitivity is also known as Laron syndrome. This is a rare genetic disorder in which the body is unable to use the growth hormone produced. It causes slower growth rate and shorter than normal height. Other genetic causes of short stature. Maybe other genetic causes like Down syndrome or Turner syndrome or other genetic diseases may cause short stature, then in such cases E34.328 should be coded. E34.329 unspecified genetic causes of the short stature. If the type of the genetic cause not specified, then E34.329. E34.39 other short stature due to endocrine disorders like hypothyroidism and hormonally growth hormone delay or Cushing's syndrome, like that. If any endocrine disorders are there, if it causes the short stature, then report with E34.39. And you all know about the excludes one. The excludes one should not be reported with the existing code. And coming to the excludes one, if you see the current excludes one 2022, we have achondroplastic short stature Q77.4, hypochondroplastic short stature Q77.4, nutritional short stature E45, pituitary short stature E23.0, progeria E34.8, Russell-Silver syndrome Q87.19, short-limbed short stature with immunodeficiency D82.2, short stature NOS or child it is R62.52, short stature in specific dysmorphic syndrome go by alphabetic index. These are the short stature codes. Whenever you are coding the short stature in 2023, that is from October 1st 2022 onwards, check the cause of the short stature and then assign appropriate diagnosis as per the description. Coming to the acidosis. Acidosis is the condition in which there is too much acid in the body fluids. Kidneys and lungs maintain the balance, that means proper pH in the body. Acidosis occurs when either acids build up in the body or bicarbonates is lost. There are two types of acidosis. One is respiratory acidosis, second one is metabolic acidosis. When this respiratory acidosis develops, when there is too much carbon dioxide in the body, that means when the body is unable to remove enough carbon dioxide through breathing. In such cases, respiratory acidosis occurs. Metabolic acidosis, it develops when there is too much acid produced in the body. It may also occur when the kidneys cannot remove enough acid from the body. Now we will see the types of metabolic acidosis. Diabetic acidosis or diabetic ketoacidosis. It develops when ketone bodies build up in the body due to uncontrolled diabetes. Hypochloremic acidosis. It is caused by too much loss of sodium bicarbonate from the body, which can happen with severe diarrhea. And kidney diseases like uremia, renal tubular diseases also cause metabolic acidosis. Lactic acidosis. It is a buildup of lactic acid which is mainly produced in muscle cells and RBC. It forms when the body breaks down carbohydrates to use for energy when oxygen levels are low. It can also be caused by cancer, too much of alcohol, hypoglycemia, sepsis, liver failure, etc. Poisoning by drugs like aspirin, ethylene glycol, methanol, and severe hydration would also cause metabolic acidosis. If we'll go by alphabetic index, acidosis, either lactic or respiratory, is leading to E87.2. Here you see lactic, that is A87.2, metabolic E87.2, respiratory E87.2. If the patient has metabolic with respiratory acidosis, it is E87.4. If it is type 1 diabetes, that is ketoacidosis, then we have to code with E10.10. Whenever the patient has DKA, we should report E10, not E87.2. If it is a kidney or tubular acidosis, N25.89. If it is hypochloremic of newborn, code with P74.421. So P codes for newborns. So acidosis for metabolic, respiratory or lactic acidosis, the code is E87.2. Till now we have reported with E87.2. Now in 2023, 4 codes are created. E87.20 acidosis unspecified, E87.21 acute metabolic acidosis, E87.22 chronic metabolic acidosis, E87.29 other acidosis. So whenever we are coding metabolic acidosis, we need to check whether the severity was specified or not. Coming to the summary of the changes. G79.85 long-term use of injectable non-insulin antibiotic drugs should be reported with this diagnosis. E34.3, this is short stature codes. New short stature codes for constitutional IGF-1 deficiency and resistance and other genetic causes and other endocrine disorders. E87.2 new codes for acute and chronic metabolic acidosis are created. These are the changes in chapter 4. We'll meet you soon with another video, that is chapter 5 changes. Keep watching. Please subscribe our video for latest updates.